Hello everyone. Today we continue to follow the next chapter in the painful yet resilient journey of the single mother, Dieu Han. After countless sleepless nights, after tears that fell silently in the dark, finally Uyen, the mysterious girl who had once been taken away, has returned into the arms of those who truly love her. In that tiny rented room, with soft yellow light streaming through a thin curtain, 3 people, each carrying scars that once seemed unbearable, now sit quietly beside each other. No need for many words, no need for hollow comfort, just a gentle touch, a steady gaze enough to soothe the wounds buried deep within their souls. But this journey is far from over, because what Uyen endured is still wrapped in mystery. Meanwhile, Tan continues to silently watch over Han. He knows how much Han worries for Uyen, but he also knows if she stays here any longer, she may get pulled deeper into this whirlpool of trouble and danger. And worse still, it could threaten Tom, her little son. Tan finds I want to take Han back to Jack Lak. I don't want her to face any more danger. Could you talk to her for me? She won't leave because she's still too worried about Uyen. The looks at Tan. He doesn't say anything, just nods quietly. That night, neither of them sleeps. They sit side by side, backs against the wall, outside Uyen's room. On their weary faces are 2 different worries, but both are for the same woman they each love in their own way. At dawn, as the first light breaks through the trees, The stands up. He's not someone who easily shows emotion, but this time, he knows he has to do what's right. He gently pulls Han aside, his voice calm and sincere. I think you should go back to Jack Lak with Tan. Tom's safety matters more than anything. Uyen will be okay. The authorities are involved now. I'll stay here and take care of her. You don't have to worry anymore. Han stands silently. She says nothing. She looks into his eyes, and in them she sees certainty and sacrifice. After a moment, she nods. Thank you for always being here. Later that morning, Thi and Uyen walk them to the edge of the alley. Together they stand and watch the silhouettes of the small family slowly disappear from view. No words are spoken. Only a strange, heavy silence hangs in the air, as if the city itself feels the sorrow. After leaving Uyen's tiny room, the very place that once held so much pain and hope, Tan and Han returned to Mr. Hong's house. Han quickly began packing. She said nothing. She quietly folded each shirt, packed Tom's shoes, tucked his little toys into a worn canvas bag. Tan stood silently on the balcony, his eyes drifting toward the far end of the narrow alley, where the pale afternoon sunlight crept through the roofs of old houses. His mind was a blur of conflicting thoughts. Am I being selfish, wanting Han to leave this place so soon? After all, Uyen has been by her side since the very beginning through the hardest days. A real friend. He closed his eyes. For a fleeting moment, Tan picked up his phone. His hand trembled slightly. He knew if he stayed silent, the guilt would haunt him forever. He dialed Thi's number. On the other end, the phone rang. It was Tan. His voice was low but resolute. I need to see you. At the old cafe. You remember it, right? The paused for a few seconds. He glanced at Uyen, who was lying in bed with her eyes closed, still clutching a crumpled note with an address written on it. He knew he couldn't leave her alone, not now. But there was something in Tan's voice, something unusual. Finally, the called a friend and asked them to watch over Uyen for a while. Then, without another word, he sped out of the narrow alley on his motorbike. As he rode through the fading streets, a weight pressed heavy on his chest. What does Than want to say at a time like this, late afternoon? Almond leaves drifted slowly in the wind, carpeting the narrow path that led to a small coffee shop tucked behind an old tree. There, the Yi was already waiting. In front of him sat a glass of iced black coffee, untouched. He stared out at the street, eyes distant. In his mind lingered the image of Uyan, the girl who had just escaped a nightmare that showed no signs of ending. A soft, scraping sound broke the silence. Thane had arrived. He sat down quietly and ordered himself a glass of water. Two men never truly close, now found themselves sharing a table like reluctant allies, bound together by one event and one woman. They gave a slight nod and spoke, his voice calm. "Why did you ask to meet me?" Than didn't answer right away. He glanced around the cafe, then turned back, his voice low and steady. "It's about Uyen. I think I've been too selfish. I just wanted Han and Tom to be safe, and I forgot that Uyen also needs someone by her side." He paused. There was a firmness in Than's eyes, as if he had just crossed a line within himself. "Now that Han and Tom are stable, I don't want to just sit and watch anymore. I want to help you. Catch the man who did this." The frowned. He hadn't expected Than to say that. He lowered his voice, still guarded. "And how exactly do you plan to do that? The authorities are already investigating." Than nodded. "I know. But while they follow the official trail, we can take another route." The squinted, a flicker of caution crossed his face. "Go on." Than leaned in and began whispering his plan. The air in the cafe grew thick with tension. Neither man said another word. They quietly finished their drinks, then stood up, and together they headed toward Mr. Chin's house. And they stopped in front of a cold corrugated metal house with peeling paint and a crooked house number. This was Mr. Chin's place. They didn't go in right away. Instead, they stood silently at the rusted gate, their eyes scanning every detail for a moment before slowly stepping through. Mr. Chin poked his head out. As soon as he saw them, his reaction was immediate. "What the hell are you two doing here? I don't know anything about that girl, Uyan. Get lost. I have nothing to do with this." He was agitated, eyes shifty, hands trembling as he gripped the door tightly, like he feared being dragged into something terrible. But Than remained calm, unfazed by the man's aggression. "We came to give you money." At the mention of money, Mr. Chin's face shifted noticeably. A glint sparked in his eyes, though the suspicion hadn't vanished. "Money? Why would you give me money? You trying to set me up or something?" They stepped closer, pulling a wad of cash from his pocket and holding it up at eye level. He didn't say much, his tone cold. "Here, is this enough?" Mr. Chin glanced at the stack. It wasn't a lot. After a brief hesitation, he motioned to a rickety wooden chair on the porch. "Sit down. Say whatever you've got to say." Than sat first, his voice dropping but carrying a loaded tone. "I'm sure you know Fook, don't you? We need to meet him." "Meet him? What for? I don't even know who you people are." They jumped in, blunt and direct. "Call him. Just say someone's paying your debt. That money is yours. If he shows up, everything will be settled." Mr. Chin flinched. His eyes revealed clear anxiety. He muttered to himself, almost in disbelief. "I owe him money. He threatened to take my house." Than nodded, sensing the weak spot. "That's why you should call him. You're not involved. We'll handle him." The tension grew heavy in the air. Mr. Chin stepped inside and dialed a number. The sound of the ringing tone echoed sharply in the quiet night. "Hello? Fook? Someone wants to meet you? It's about money? Yeah, come to my house. After the call, he turned back, but this time, his face clearly showed greed. All right, it's done. Now give me the rest of the money. Than and Thee exchanged a glance. They both knew this man wasn't simple. They couldn't hand over the full amount just yet. Tha and Ankh calmly pulled out a smaller portion and handed it to Mr. Chin. An advance. Once Poosh shows up, we'll give you the rest. Mr. Chin took the cash, clearly displeased, but he didn't protest. He knew he was caught between two forces. On one side was Fook, and on the other, these two mysterious men who didn't seem ordinary. He pocketed the money, still muttering under his breath, "Just remember you better bring the rest. If Fook really takes my house, you two won't be safe either." Without saying another word, Than and Thee stood up, their eyes still fixed on Mr. Chin's rusted door. They left the house, walking slowly toward the alley's entrance. Once they were out of Mr. Chin's line of sight, Than stopped and turned to Thee. "You think he'll show up?" The furrowed his brow, his eyes scanning the alley behind them. If he still sees Mr. Chin as a pawn, he'll come. The question is, are we ready? Their eyes met in silence. No more words were needed. Neither of them went home. They returned to the alley's entrance, from where he could watch the main road clearly. Thun, meanwhile, slipped into a narrow side alley beside the house, leading to an overgrown empty lot filled with old bricks and rotting styrofoam boxes. From this spot, he had a direct view of Mr. Chin's front door without being seen. Than sat down, leaning his back against the wall, ears alert for any movement. Time crawled. Nearly 30 minutes passed in complete silence. Then a figure appeared. The man wore a black jacket and a cap pulled low over his face. In his hand, he carried a small, heavy bag. Something inside it clinked with every step. Even from a distance, with just a glance, Than felt it. Something deeply familiar, something dangerous. Would Than and the stay sharp enough to catch Fook? The next episode will bring the moment of confrontation. But will Than and Thee uncover his true face in time? Or does Foos still have a hidden card to play? Stay tuned for the next chapter. Traps in the Shadows, where every choice could either lead to ruin or redemption.
Không nói gì thêm, Thành và Thế đứng dậy, ánh mắt vẫn bỗng hướng về phía cánh cửa rỉ sét của ông Chính. Cả hai rời khỏi căn nhà ấy, bước chậm rãi về phía đầu ngõ. Khi đã ra khỏi tầm nhìn của ông Chính, Thành dừng lại, quay sang Thế. Anh nghĩ hắn sẽ xuất hiện không? Thế nhíu mày, mắt anh không rời khỏi con hẻm phía sau. Nếu hắn vẫn còn coi ông Chính là quân cờ thì chắc chắn sẽ đến đây. Vấn đề là chúng ta có sẵn sàng không? Hai ánh mắt giao nhau trong im lặng. Không cần thêm lời nào, cả hai quyết định không về nhà. Thế quay trở lại đầu ngõ, nơi có thể bao quát toàn bộ con đường chính. Còn Thành rẽ vào một con đường hẻm nhỏ bên hông căn nhà, nơi lối dẫn đến khoảng đất trống bỏ hoang phía sau, nơi cất đống gạch cũ, thùng xốp mục nát. Chính từ đây anh có thể nhìn thẳng vào cửa nhà ông Chính mà không bị phát hiện. Thành ngồi xuống, lưng tựa vào tường, tai căng giang lắng nghe mọi động tĩnh. Thời gian trôi qua chậm chạp, gần nửa tiếng đồng hồ trôi qua. Trong tĩnh lặng, một bóng người xuất hiện. Gã mặc áo khoác đen, đội nón che kín mặt. Trong tay hắn cầm một chiếc túi nhỏ nặng trĩu. Thứ gì đó bên trong kẽ va vào nhau, phát ra tiếng lạch cạch. Dù chỉ là một chiếc liếc từ xa, Thành vẫn cảm nhận cái gì đó rất quen thuộc, rất nguy hiểm. Liệu Thành và Thế có đủ tỉnh táo để bắt Phúc? Tập tiếp theo sẽ là khoảnh khắc đối đầu, nhưng liệu Thành và Thế có kịp lật tẩy hắn, hay Phúc vẫn còn quân bài chưa lật? Hãy đón chờ tiếp theo. Cạm bẫy trong bóng tối, nơi tất cả mọi thứ lựa chọn đều có thể khiến mọi thứ đổ vỡ hoặc được cứu rỗi.